The silver ship hung in Earth's shadow, invisible to human detection systems. Ambassador Zethka pressed her four-fingered hand against the observation window, watching the blue and green world turn slowly below. After 3 months of study, she still could not understand what she was seeing. "The violence never stopping," she whispered to her aide Corin. The young Althari male checked his datapad with nervous clicks of his tongue. 47 active conflicts detected this morning, Corin reported. "The humans call them wars, Ambassador. Some have been going on for years." Zethka shook her head. In her 500 years of life, she had never encountered anything like this. The Galactic Confederation had studied 847 different species across the galaxy. All of them had evolved past warfare before reaching spaceflight. It was the natural order of things. Violence belonged to the primitive stages of development, like walking on all fours or eating raw meat. But humans were different, terrifyingly different. "Show me the tactical analysis again," she ordered. The holographic display filled the air between them. Earth appeared as a spinning globe covered in red markers. Each marker represented a conflict zone, but what made Zethka's blood run cold was not the number of conflicts. It was how the humans fought them. "Computer, replay the engagement from the Arabian Peninsula," she said. The hologram zoomed in on a desert region. Tiny figures moved across the sand like pieces on a game board. But this was no game. The human military units moved with purpose and intelligence that shocked the watching aliens. They used terrain to their advantage, predicted enemy movements, and adapted their strategies in real time. "Look at this flanking maneuver." Corin pointed with a trembling finger. "They sent a false retreat to draw the enemy into an ambush. How did they know their opponents would follow?" Zethka watched the replay again. The humans had read their enemy's psychology perfectly. They knew exactly how their opponents would react and planned for it. This was not the mindless violence of animals. This was warfare as an art form. "They have been doing this for thousands of years," she said quietly. "Their entire history is written in blood." The ship's computer had analyzed human records going back 6,000 years. Every century, every decade, sometimes every year brought new conflicts. The humans fought over land, resources, ideas, and sometimes for reasons the Althari could not even understand. They called it religion, nationalism, ideology. To Zethka, it all looked like madness. But it was organized madness. Brilliant madness, Ambassador. Corin's voice was tight with fear. "The Confederation Council is waiting for your report. What will you tell them?" Zethka turned away from the window. Below them, Earth continued its ancient dance of creation and destruction. In the nightside cities, millions of humans lived their lives in peace. But somewhere on that world, others were planning battles, moving armies, and perfecting the art of war. She had been chosen for this mission because of her reputation for understanding alien cultures. The Althari were natural diplomats, able to find common ground with any species. But humans challenged everything she thought she knew about civilization. "I will tell them the truth," she said finally. "That we have found a species that has reached the stars without abandoning warfare. They have technology, art, literature, and science. They have also perfected the ability to kill each other in ways we cannot imagine." The communication chamber hummed to life as Zethka prepared her report. The Confederation Council met on Harmony Station, a massive space habitat at the galaxy's center. Representatives from all member species would gather to hear about these new beings called humans. She activated the holographic transmitter. The familiar faces of the council appeared before her. Elder Vorum of the Ethereals sat at the center, his ancient features calm and wise. The Ethereals had given up violence 50,000 years ago and had guided the galaxy to peace ever since. "Ambassador Zethka," Elder Vorum's voice carried across the void. "We await your assessment of these beings." "Honored Elder," Zethka began, choosing her words carefully. "The humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They possess advanced technology and complex civilization. However, they have not evolved past their violent nature." Murmurs of confusion rippled through the council. Representative Dax of the crystal-formed Quellites spoke first. "Surely you mean they retain some aggressive tendencies? All young species show territorial behavior." "No, honored representative. I mean they wage war as we practice diplomacy, with skill planning and terrible efficiency." The council chamber fell silent. Elder Vorum leaned forward, his expression troubled. "Ambassador, are you suggesting these humans are still in their primitive phase? How then did they achieve spaceflight?" Zethka pulled up the tactical display she had prepared. The council watched in stunned silence as human military operations played out before them. The precision was undeniable. The strategic thinking was sophisticated. The execution was flawless. They fight wars the way we conduct symphonies, she explained. Every move calculated, every response anticipated. They have generals who study nothing but warfare their entire lives. They have schools dedicated to teaching the art of battle. Representative Thys of the peaceful Verdani stood up, her green skin pale with shock. This is impossible. No species can maintain such brutality and still develop culture, science, and philosophy. And yet they have, Zethka replied. Their greatest works of art often deal with war. Their heroes are warriors. Their literature celebrates both the honor and horror of battle. They understand warfare better than we understand peace. The holographic display showed Earth's night side again. City lights twinkling like stars. It looked beautiful and peaceful from space. But Zethka knew that appearance was deceiving. What do you recommend? Elder Vorum asked, the question Zethka had been dreading. The Confederation had 3 options when encountering a new species. Full contact and membership for peaceful civilizations, limited contact and guidance for those still developing, or complete isolation for dangerous species. Humans clearly fell into the dangerous category. They are not evil, she said carefully. Their capacity for violence is matched by their capacity for compassion. They create beauty alongside destruction. They love as deeply as they hate. But they are dangerous beyond our understanding. She paused, thinking of the human soldiers she had observed. They carried themselves with a weariness that spoke of terrible knowledge. They knew the cost of war, yet they continued to fight. It was as if they could not help themselves. I believe they are trapped by their own nature, she continued. They have the wisdom to know that war is wrong, but they cannot stop themselves from being good at it. And that makes them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Elder Vorum closed his eyes in thought. The other council members whispered among themselves. Finally, the ancient ethereal spoke. We will consider your report, Ambassador. Continue your observations, but maintain distance. Under no circumstances should you reveal our presence to these humans. The transmission ended, leaving Zethka alone with her thoughts. Through the window, Earth turned in its ancient rhythm. Somewhere down there, humans were falling in love, creating art, raising children, and dreaming of the stars. Somewhere else, others were planning battles, moving armies, and preparing for war. She wondered if they would ever find peace, or if their nature would forever mark them as the galaxy's most gifted and cursed children. The silver ship continued its silent watch, hidden in Earth's shadow, observing the beautiful, terrible world below. The Great Hall of Harmony Station stretched beyond sight, its crystal dome showing the swirling colors of the galactic core. Representatives from 847 worlds sat in perfect circles, their different forms creating a rainbow of alien life. Zethka stood at the center, feeling very small under the weight of so many eyes. Elder Vorum raised one ancient hand. An absolute silence fell across the assembly. The ethereals had guided galactic civilization for 50,000 years, since the last great war had ended. Their wisdom had brought peace to countless worlds. We gather today to discuss a most unusual discovery, the elder announced. His voice carried easily through the vast space, translated into hundreds of languages by the station systems. Ambassador Zethka has found a species that challenges our understanding of civilized development. Zethka activated her holographic display. Earth appeared above the assembly, blue and beautiful and deadly. Gasps echoed through the hall as the first images of human warfare began to play. Representative Thys of the Verdani spoke first, her voice shaking. Surely this is old footage. Primitive behavior from their distant past. These images were recorded last week, Zethka replied. The hall erupted in shocked whispers. The humans have been fighting continuously for their entire recorded history. 6,000 years of documented warfare, and likely thousands more before they learned to write. The display shifted to show human military academies, young humans learning tactics, strategy, and leadership. They studied ancient battles the way other species studied poetry. They memorized the movements of armies like others memorized dance steps. Impossible, muttered Representative Crix of the Logical Analyzers. No species can maintain such aggression and still develop science. Violence and wisdom cannot coexist. Zethka changed the display again. Now it showed human achievements in art, literature, and technology. Beautiful paintings that depicted terrible battles, soaring music that celebrated fallen warriors, Stories that found meaning in suffering and nobility in sacrifice. They do not see violence and wisdom as opposites, she explained. They believe that struggle creates strength. That conflict reveals truth. That peace is only valuable because they have known war. Elder Vorim studied the images with ancient eyes. Show us their current military capabilities. The new display made the entire assembly gasp. Human weapons that could destroy cities. Strategies that could outmaneuver entire fleets. Soldiers trained to fight in any environment against any enemy. The humans had spent thousands of years learning to kill, and they had become very good at it. They have nuclear weapons pointed at their own cities, Representative Dax observed, his crystal form pulsing with confusion. Why would any species threaten to destroy itself? They call it deterrence, Zethka said. The threat of destruction prevents destruction. They have built peace on the foundation of mutual fear. The concept was so alien that many representatives could not grasp it. The galaxy had known true peace for 50 millennia. Conflicts were resolved through meditation, economic pressure, or diplomatic isolation. The last resort was a strongly worded protest that might shame a difficult species into cooperation. Violence had been abandoned so long, ego that most species had forgotten it was possible. Perhaps they simply need guidance, suggested Representative Moral of the Wise Contemplators. If we share our knowledge of peaceful resolution, surely they will abandon these primitive ways. Zethka shook her head. Honored Representative, they are not primitive. Their military thinking is more advanced than our diplomatic protocols. They have studied conflict the way we study harmony. They know things about struggle and survival that we have forgotten. She activated a new section of her report. The assembly watched human military exercises with growing amazement. Soldiers moved like dancers, each knowing their role in a complex performance. Commanders made decisions with speed and certainty that seemed impossible. Units adapted to changing situations faster than computer programs. Look at this coordination, Zethka pointed to a particular maneuver. 50,000 individuals acting as one mind, each trusting the others with their lives. They have achieved a form of unity through conflict that our meditation practices rarely match. The hall fell silent as representatives tried to process what they were seeing. These humans fought with a skill and coordination that was beautiful and terrifying. Elder Vorim spoke slowly, his voice heavy with thought. Ambassador, what is your assessment of the threat they pose? They are not naturally aggressive toward other species, Zethka replied carefully. Their violence is mostly directed at each other, but their capacity for warfare is beyond our ability to contain or control. If they ever decided we were their enemy, our peaceful fleets would be destroyed in days. The ethereal council member, Elder Scythe, leaned forward, yet they have not expanded beyond their own system. If they are so skilled at conquest, why do they remain on one world? Because they are busy conquering each other, Zethka said grimly. They have never run out of enemies at home. But if they ever achieved true unity, if they ever stopped fighting among themselves and looked outward, she did not need to finish the thought. The assembly understood. A united humanity would be unstoppable. There is something else, Zethka continued, something that may be more dangerous than their military skill. The display changed again, showing human faces this time. Soldiers returning from battle, their eyes holding a knowledge that seemed older than their years. Children playing war games with toy weapons. Artists creating beauty from the memory of destruction. They are not monsters, she said softly. They laugh, love, dream, and hope like any of us. They create beauty and seek truth. They care for their children and mourn their dead. But they also know how to kill with their bare hands. They can switch from tender mercy to deadly violence in a heartbeat. Representative Kell of the empathic resonance stood, his emotional sensors overwhelming him. I can feel their pain even through these recordings. They suffer from their own nature. They know what they are and it hurts them. Yes, Zethka agreed. They write songs about the sorrow of war. They tell stories about the cost of victory. They understand that their greatest strength is also their greatest weakness, and that understanding makes them even more dangerous. Elder Vorim rose slowly, his ancient frame carrying the weight of 50,000 years of peaceful governance. The council will deliberate on this matter. Ambassador Zethka, you will continue your observations but maintain absolute secrecy. Under no circumstances must these humans learn of our existence. What if they discover us on their own? Asked Representative Thiss. Their technology advances rapidly. They may detect our ships, the elder considered this. Then we will evaluate the situation when it occurs. For now, we must determine if these humans can be guided toward peace, or if they must remain forever isolated from the galactic community. As the assembly began to disperse, Zethka remained in the center of the Great Hall. She thought about the human soldiers she had observed, carrying weapons that could kill hundreds while wearing pictures of their children. She thought about their artists, creating beauty from the ashes of war. She thought about their leaders making decisions that would send thousands to die while tears ran down their faces. The humans were trapped by their own nature, brilliant and deadly and heartbreakingly aware of what they had become. They were the galaxy's greatest paradox, a species too dangerous to contact and too fascinating to ignore. The question that haunted her was simple. Could a species built for war ever truly choose peace? Or were humans forever doomed to be the masters of an art that no one should ever need to learn? Time would tell, but Zethka feared the answer might break both human hearts and galactic harmony. The first warning came from the Outer Rim colonies, in the dark space between star systems where few dared to travel. Captain Yeneth of the peaceful exploration vessel Bright Dawn sent her final transmission on a day that would be remembered as the end of the galaxy's innocence. Unknown ships approaching Kepler colony. Her voice crackled across space, distorted by distance and fear. They do not respond to communication. They are not in our database. I repeat, these ships are completely unknown. The transmission cut to static. 3 days later, Kepler colony went silent. The Confederation's emergency response team found nothing but empty space where a world had once been. No debris, no energy signatures, no traces of the 3 million beings who had called it home. It was as if an entire planet had simply vanished. The Confederation Council met in emergency session. Elder Vorum's ancient features showed strain as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The unknown ships, black as the void between stars, were moving steadily toward populated systems. They ignored all attempts at communication, all offers of trade or diplomacy. Perhaps they are refugees, suggested Representative Morrill of the Contemplators. Fleeing some disaster in their home region, we should offer assistance. The next report silenced such hopes. The mining station at Proxima 7 sent live video feeds as the black ships approached. The aliens aboard them were like nothing in the galactic database. They moved as one organism, a hive mind with no individual consciousness. They called themselves the Devourers, though the name came not from communication but from intercepted biological signals. The galaxy watched in horror as the Devourers consumed Proxima 7. Not destroyed, consumed. They broke apart the mining equipment and absorbed the metal. They captured the fleeing workers and processed them into biomass. When they left, nothing remained but stripped rock floating in space. They eat everything, whispered Representative Dax, his crystal form dim with shock. Metal, flesh, energy. They turn entire worlds into resources for their fleet. Elder Vorum called for calm, but panic was already spreading through the Confederation. For 50,000 years, the galaxy had known peace. The Defense Force existed mainly for search and rescue operations, disaster relief, and the occasional containment of dangerous wildlife. They had no experience with warfare, no knowledge of strategy, no understanding of the enemy they faced. Admiral Kess of the Defense Force presented his assessment to the Council. The proud Navari male had served for 2 centuries without firing a shot in anger. His voice shook as he delivered his report. The Devourer fleet consists of approximately 10,000 ships of unknown design. They appear to be biological constructs, grown rather than built. Their weapons are beyond our current understanding, capable of breaking molecular bonds and converting matter into energy. What are our defensive options? Elder Vorum asked. Admiral Kess looked around the chamber with eyes that held a terrible new understanding. Honored Elder, we have no defensive options. Our ships are designed for exploration and peaceful contact. Our weapons are crowd control devices and emergency tools. Against this enemy, we might as well throw rocks. The room erupted in frightened voices. Species that had not known fear for millennia suddenly faced extinction. The Verdani representative Thys stood, her green skin pale with terror. "Surely we can negotiate. Every species has needs, desires, goals we can address through diplomacy." "You cannot negotiate with hunger," Admiral Kess replied. "The Devourers do not communicate because they do not think as individuals. They are a single organism spread across thousands of ships. They want only to consume and grow. They cannot be reasoned with any more than you can reason with a forest fire." The Confederation's first battle came at the Harmony Defense Line, a chain of peaceful monitoring stations that ringed the galaxy's core. The Defense Force assembled every available ship, nearly 1,000 vessels representing the combined peaceful might of 847 worlds. The battle lasted 4 hours. Admiral Kess's ship, the Concordance, limped back to Harmony Station, with its hull cracked and its crew traumatized. Of the 1,000 ships that had engaged the Devourers, only 53 returned. The rest had been consumed, turned into raw materials for the growing Devourer fleet. "We tried everything," Admiral Kess reported to the Emergency Council session. His proud bearing was broken, his voice hollow with defeat. "We offered to negotiate, to share our technology, to find them uninhabited worlds to consume. They ignored us completely." "What about our weapons?" asked Representative Crix of the analyzers. "Surely some damage was inflicted." Admiral Kess shook his head. "Our crowd control weapons barely scratched their hulls. Our emergency cutting beams were absorbed and used to strengthen their armor. They learned from every attack and adapted their defenses in real time. The holographic display showed the aftermath of the battle. Devourer ships had grown larger by consuming the defeated Confederation vessels. The enemy fleet was stronger after the fight than before it." "How is this possible?" Elder Vorim asked, his ancient voice breaking. "How can any species be so perfectly designed for destruction?" Admiral Kess looked at the Elder with eyes that had seen the end of everything he believed in. "Because they evolved for it, honored Elder. While we learned peace and cooperation, they learned only to consume and grow. They are what we might have become if we had never abandoned warfare." The terrible irony was not lost on the Council. In abandoning violence, they had forgotten how to defend themselves. In choosing peace, they had become helpless against those who chose war. The reports continued to arrive, each worse than the last. The Devourers moved through space like a plague, consuming everything in their path. Planets, space stations, entire star systems vanished into their endless hunger. The Confederation's evacuation efforts saved some populations, but millions more were lost. "At their current rate of advance," Admiral Kess reported, "they will reach the core worlds within 6 months. Once they consume the industrial centers of our civilization, they will become unstoppable." Elder Vorium sat in silence for a long moment, weighing the unthinkable. The ethereals had guided the galaxy to peace through wisdom and patience, but wisdom seemed useless against an enemy that could not be reasoned with, and patience would only ensure their complete destruction. "Are there any options we have not considered?" he asked finally. The council chamber fell silent. Representatives from 847 worlds had no answers. Their entire civilization was built on the assumption that intelligence and goodwill could solve any problem. Faced with pure, mindless hunger, they had no response. It was Representative Theiss who spoke the unthinkable words. "What about the humans?" The chamber erupted in shocked protests. Elder Vorim raised his hand for silence, but his face showed his own inner struggle. "The humans are dangerous," Representative Morrill objected. "We agreed they were too violent for contact." "They are violent," Theiss agreed. "But the Devourers are extinction. Perhaps we need someone who understands violence to fight them." Admiral Kess leaned forward, his military mind finally seeing a possibility. "The humans have spent their entire history fighting. They understand warfare in ways we have forgotten. If anyone could stand against the Devourers, it might be them." "They are a single species on one world," Representative Dax pointed out. "How could they possibly help against an enemy that has defeated our combined fleets?" "Because they think like the enemy," Admiral Kess replied. "They understand conquest, strategy, and survival. They might see solutions that our peaceful minds cannot imagine." Elder Vorim closed his ancient eyes. The decision before him would either save the galaxy or damn it. contact the humans and risk unleashing the most dangerous species they had ever encountered, or face extinction with dignity and honor. Ambassador Zethka, he said finally, prepare for contact with the humans. May the ancestors forgive us for what we are about to do. The chamber fell silent as the weight of the decision settled on them all. The galaxy's 50,000 years of peace were about to end. Whether what came next would be salvation or a different kind of destruction, none could say, but the Devourers were coming, and the peaceful galaxy had run out of peaceful options. The silver ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star, its stealth systems failing as Ambassador Zethka made the most dangerous decision in galactic history. She was about to reveal the existence of an entire civilization to a species that the galaxy feared above all others. The ship landed in a forest clearing outside Geneva, where Earth's United Nations maintained its headquarters. Zethka had studied human organizations for months, trying to understand their complex political structures. Unlike the Confederation's peaceful democracy, human governments seemed to exist in constant tension with each other. Her hands shook as she activated the universal translator and stepped outside her ship. The first human she would meet face to face was a jogger, who had stopped to stare at the impossible sight of an alien spacecraft in his morning run. "Please do not be afraid," Zethka said, her voice carrying across the clearing. "I come in peace." The human, a middle-aged woman in exercise clothes, dropped her water bottle and sat down hard on a fallen log. "This is really happening," she whispered. "Aliens are real." Within an hour, the clearing was surrounded by human military forces. Zethka observed them with new understanding as they established a perimeter with smooth efficiency. These were not the peacekeepers she was used to seeing in Confederation space. These humans moved with the casual competence of born warriors. A black vehicle arrived and several humans in suits emerged. The lead figure was an older woman with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She approached Zethka with confident strides. "I am Secretary General Elena Martinez of the United Nations," the woman said. "I understand you wish to speak with Earth's leaders." "I am Ambassador Zethka of the Galactic Confederation," she replied, noting how the human leader showed no fear, only intense curiosity. "I bring urgent news that affects both our species." The meeting that followed changed everything. In a secure conference room beneath the UN building, Zethka faced representatives from every major human nation. She had expected chaos, arguments, and the kind of political infighting that seemed to characterize human society. Instead, she found focused attention and intelligent questions. "You have been watching us for months," observed President Sarah Chen of the American Federation, her military background evident in her bearing. "What did you conclude?" Zethka chose her words carefully. "That humanity possesses capabilities the galaxy has forgotten, skills that we abandoned long ago in favor of peace." "You mean our ability to wage war," said General Vladimir Petrov of the Russian Federation. His scarred face and missing left arm spoke of personal experience with violence. "Yes," Zethka admitted. "The Confederation consists of 847 peaceful species. We have not fought a war in 50,000 years. We believed warfare was a primitive phase that all intelligent species outgrow." Secretary General Martinez leaned forward. "But you were wrong. Catastrophically wrong." Zethka activated her holographic display showing the devastation the Devourers had wrought. The human leaders watched in grim silence as entire worlds vanished into the void. "How many ships do they have?" asked Admiral James Harrison of the British Commonwealth Fleet. "Approximately 15,000 now, growing with each world they consume," Zethka replied. "They have destroyed every fleet we sent against them." "What kind of resistance did you offer?" General Liu Wei of the Chinese Republic asked. Zethka showed them recordings of the Confederation's battles. The humans watched with expressions that shifted from surprise to disbelief to something that might have been pity. "You tried to negotiate with them during combat," President Chen observed. "Your ships broadcast surrender offers while being attacked." "We hope to find a peaceful solution," Zethka said defensively. "Against a hive mind that consumes planets?" General Petrov shook his head. "You might as well try to negotiate with a hurricane." Secretary General Martinez stood and walked to the wall display showing star charts. "Why come to us? We are one species on one world. You represent nearly 1,000 civilizations." "Because we have forgotten how to fight," Zethka said simply. Our people break down when forced to kill. Our commanders cannot think strategically about violence. Our entire civilization is built on the assumption that all conflicts can be resolved peacefully. And you think we can help because we never forgot how to fight? Admiral Harrison said. It was not a question. I think you are our only hope. The room fell silent as the humans processed this information. Zethka watched their faces, seeing the calculations behind their eyes. These were people who understood threat assessment, strategic thinking, and the harsh mathematics of survival. What exactly are you asking for? President Chen asked. Military advisors, Zethka replied. Leaders who understand warfare. People who can teach our forces how to fight effectively against an enemy that cannot be reasoned with. General Wei laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want us to teach a galaxy how to wage war. I want you to teach us how to survive. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some human leaders worried about the consequences of revealing Earth's location to potentially hostile aliens. Others questioned whether humanity should get involved in an interstellar war. But gradually a consensus emerged. We need to see this threat for ourselves, Secretary General Martinez decided. A small military mission to observe the enemy and assess the situation. I can arrange transport, Zethka offered. How long would such a mission take? Asked Admiral Harrison. 3 months to reach Confederation space, analyze the threat, and return with recommendations. President Chen stood. I will lead the mission myself. This decision is too important to delegate. I will join you, General Petrov volunteered. If we are to advise on warfare, we need our best strategists involved. One by one, other human leaders committed to the mission. Admiral Harrison, General Wei, Colonel Sarah Mitchell of the African Federation Defense Force, and a dozen other military specialists. They would travel to the edge of known space to face an enemy that had already defeated the combined might of 847 worlds. As preparations began, Zethka found herself alone with Secretary General Martinez. The human leader studied the alien ambassador with curious eyes. You are afraid of us, Martinez observed. Even now asking for our help, you fear what we might become. Zethka could not deny it. Your species has capabilities that could reshape the galaxy, the power to unite or destroy civilizations, and you think we would choose destruction? I think you would choose survival, Zethka replied. The question is whether you would allow others to survive alongside you. Martinez smiled, but it was a sad expression. Ambassador, we have been asking ourselves that question for thousands of years. We fight each other because we cannot agree on the answer. Perhaps helping your people will help us find it. The human mission departed Earth 3 days later aboard Zethka's ship, hastily modified to accommodate its passengers. As they traveled through hyperspace toward the dying galaxy, the humans studied everything the Confederation knew about the Devourers. President Chen proved to be a quick student of galactic politics, while General Petrov analyzed Devourer tactics with professional interest. Admiral Harrison compared Confederation ships to human naval designs, finding alarming weaknesses in alien construction. Your ships are built for exploration and peaceful contact, he explained to Zethka. Minimal armor, no strategic weapon systems, crew quarters designed for comfort rather than survival. They are beautiful, but they are not warships. We saw no need for warships, Zethka replied. You do now. As they approached Confederation space, long-range sensors detected the growing Devourer presence. Entire sectors had gone dark, their stars dimmed as the enemy consumed everything in their path. The humans studied the tactical displays with grim determination. How much time do we have? President Chen asked. 6 weeks before they reach the core worlds, Zethka replied. After that, our industrial capacity will be gone, and resistance will become impossible. General Petrov leaned back in his chair, processing the challenge. 6 weeks to teach a galaxy how to fight. It cannot be done. Then the galaxy will die, Zethka said quietly. The human leaders exchanged glances, communicating in the subtle way of people who had worked together through many crises. Finally, President Chen spoke. We will try. Not because we think we can save everyone, but because the alternative is watching everyone die. As their ship emerged from hyperspace near Harmony Station, they saw the heart of galactic civilization for the first time. The massive space habitat glowed like a jewel against the stars, beautiful and peaceful and completely defenseless. The humans had come to save a galaxy that feared them, to teach warfare to species that had forgotten violence, to become the guardians of a peace they had never known. Whether they would succeed or simply delay the inevitable remained to be seen. The first thing Admiral Sarah Chen noticed about the Confederation Defense Force was that they had no idea how to defend anything. She stood on the observation deck of the massive command ship Harmony's Voice, watching what the aliens called a tactical exercise with growing dismay. 200 Confederation ships moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming silver against the stars. They looked beautiful, peaceful, and completely useless for actual combat. Their movements were synchronized like a dance, but they had all the strategic value of synchronized swimming. Explain to me again what they are trying to accomplish, General Vladimir Petrov said. His scarred face twisted in confusion. Admiral Kess of the proud Navari stood beside them, his forearms gesturing helplessly. It is a defensive formation designed to minimize casualties while demonstrating our technological superiority to potential aggressors. By flying in neat rows? Colonel Sarah Mitchell asked. The African Federation officer had commanded troops in some of Earth's harshest conflicts, and her expression showed what she thought of neat rows in combat. The formation shows that we are organized and disciplined, Admiral Kess explained. Usually this is enough to discourage violence. General Liu Wei of the Chinese Republic shook his head slowly. Admiral, this formation would allow an enemy to destroy your entire fleet with a single coordinated attack. You have no overlapping fields of fire, no ability to support damaged vessels, and no escape routes if the formation is broken. Admiral Kess looked confused. Why would we need escape routes? If a battle cannot be won, the proper response is to surrender and begin negotiations. The human officers exchanged glances that spoke volumes. President Chen, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke. Admiral Kess, show us a recording of your last battle against the Devourers. The holographic display filled with images that made the humans wince. Confederation ships approached the Devourer fleet, broadcasting messages of peace and offers to negotiate. When the black ships began firing, the Confederation vessels held formation and returned, what they called warning shots, coming carefully aimed bursts designed to disable rather than destroy. The Devourers responded by consuming the disabled ships. They thought you were feeding them, General Petrov observed. You disabled your own ships and presented them as offerings. We were trying to minimize casualties, Admiral Kess protested. You maximized them, President Chen replied bluntly. Every ship you disabled was lost. Every crew you tried to save was consumed. Your mercy became murder. The harsh truth hung in the air between them. The Confederation's peaceful nature, their greatest achievement, had become their greatest weakness. They were facing an enemy that could not be negotiated with, reasoned with, or deterred by displays of civilization. We need to start over, Admiral Chen announced. Everything you think you know about space combat is wrong. We are going to teach you to fight like your lives depend on it, because they do. The training began immediately. Human military doctrine, refined by thousands of years of warfare, clashed with 50,000 years of peaceful thinking. The Confederation officers struggled with concepts that seemed alien and disturbing. The objective of combat is to destroy the enemy's ability to fight, General Liu explained to a group of shocked Confederation commanders. Not to wound them, not to disable them, not to convince them to stop. You must remove their capacity for violence completely. A young Altari officer raised her hand. But what if they surrender? The Devourers do not surrender, Colonel Mitchell replied. They are a hive mind. They cannot choose to stop fighting any more than your heart can choose to stop beating. The only way to stop them is to destroy them completely. The concept of total warfare horrified the peaceful aliens. They had spent millennia learning to resolve conflicts without violence, to find compromise and understanding. The idea of fighting with the intent to kill was almost incomprehensible. But they learned because the alternative was extinction. Human tactical doctrine spread through the Confederation fleet like wildfire. Ships that had moved in parade formations began practicing actual combat maneuvers. Weapons designed for crowd control were replaced with systems built to destroy. The most difficult change was psychological. Your crew keeps hesitating, Admiral Chen told Commander Thiss of the Verdani during a training exercise. Every time they have a clear shot at the enemy, they pause to look for alternatives. It is our nature, Commander Thiss replied, her green skin pale with stress. "We seek to preserve life, not destroy it." "Then you will all die," Chen said bluntly. "The Devourers do not hesitate. They do not seek alternatives. They see your mercy as weakness and your hesitation as opportunity." The breakthrough came during a simulated battle between human-trained Confederation ships and conventional forces. The traditionally trained fleet used their standard peaceful tactics, broadcasting surrender offers and attempting to minimize damage. The human-trained ships attacked with focused intensity, targeting command vessels and communication arrays. The traditional fleet was eliminated in 17 minutes. "This is not warfare," protested Elder Vorim when he reviewed the exercise. "This is butchery. This is survival," President Chen replied. "War is not a negotiation. It is not a debate. It is a test of will, and the side that wants to live more will win." The humans also revolutionized Confederation ship design. Their engineers, working with alien technology, created vessels that balanced offense and defense. Where Confederation ships had beautiful observation lounges, the new designs had armored command centers. Where they had comfortable crew quarters, the new ships had redundant life support systems. "Your old ships were built for sightseeing," General Petrov explained to a group of shipbuilders. "Beautiful, comfortable, and perfect for exploring peaceful space. But in combat, they become coffins. We are building ships that can take damage and keep fighting." The psychological changes were harder than the technical ones. Species that had not known violence for millennia struggled with the concepts of acceptable losses, strategic retreats, and necessary sacrifices. Some broke under the pressure of learning to think like predators. Others adapted with disturbing enthusiasm. "I am concerned about the warrior caste uprising on Bellator Prime," Admiral Kess reported during a briefing. "The humans' tactical training has awakened something in them that we thought was long dead." President Chen studied the reports with growing worry. The Bellatorians had been peaceful farmers for 10,000 years, but human military doctrine had awakened ancient genetic memories of their warrior past. They were now demanding to lead the fight against the Devourers, and their enthusiasm for violence was becoming problematic. "War changes people," she said quietly. "We are asking your species to become something they have spent millennia moving away from. There will be consequences." The final test came when Devourer scouts appeared at the edge of Confederation space. The new human-trained fleet engaged them in actual combat for the first time. The aliens had learned their lessons well. Instead of broadcasting surrender offers, they opened fire immediately. Instead of holding formation, they used the complex attack patterns the humans had taught them. Instead of trying to disable enemy ships, they destroyed them completely. For the first time in months, a Confederation force defeated the Devourers. The victory celebration was muted. The Confederation officers who had won the battle looked at their hands as if they belonged to strangers. They had killed efficiently and without hesitation, but the psychological cost was enormous. "We did what was necessary," Commander Thys said to Admiral Chen after the battle, "but I do not recognize the person who gave those orders. Is this what we must become to survive?" Chen looked out at the debris field where Devourer ships had been destroyed. "War reveals who we really are when everything else is stripped away. You discovered that you can be warriors when you have to be. The question is whether you can remain civilized people when the fighting is over." The human advisors had accomplished their mission. They had taught the galaxy how to fight, how to kill, and how to win. But as they prepared for the larger war to come, they all wondered if the cure might prove worse than the disease. The peaceful galaxy was learning the art of war, and there would be no going back.